Called it. All right, so a historical day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Indianapolis 500, the 105th running of this greatest spectacle in racing, and what a great day it was. Sounds like we just lost a cooler over there, but so I started out the day working with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. Actually got to sit behind the 1941 winner's wheel and got pulled down Gasoline Alley. It was amazing. What a great start to the day, and then what a great race. The first thing I want to say is I'm so happy that it was a safe race. Going in, I just had a bit of a funny feeling going into this one, that because we hadn't seen so many accidents throughout the practice and qualifying, that I was worried we were going to see some bad ones here, and it was really one of the safest races I've ever seen. There was just the one real bad incident, which was Graham Rahal losing a wheel and crashing, and then ultimately Connor Daly, thank God for the aero screen, hitting a tire and kicking it up over the fence. I assume, and again, I'm assuming this, I don't think anyone was actually hurt in that incident. And I guess in some ways it was a blessing that no one was on the viewing mounds this year, in retrospect, or in hindsight anyway. But okay, so where do I even begin? So this race really was, kind of what the Fast Nine set us up for, which was the old guard racing the new guard. And, early on it looked like it was VK and Herta and Dixon, kind of like what we expected at the beginning, or what I kind of expected going in. And, up until the very first caution, it looked like those three were going to be the ones who were going to battle it out for the Indianapolis 500 win. And then when Stephen Wilson crashed coming into the pits, that blew the entire race up. Because as it turns out, and again, I don't want to sensationalize this, because, ultimately it's one of them racing deals, but apparently the Honda motors don't like running super lean on fuel and with no fuel in the tank, because we saw Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon, the pole sitter, lose laps and never recover the rest of the race because their engine died and they couldn't get it restarted. And that's the thing. It's what I told everybody who was like, Dixon's going to win, Dixon's going to win, Dixon's going to win, giving him the trophy so early. There's so much that can happen in this race. And this race is, so unpredictable. That's why we love this race, because you really can't just go into it necessarily and predict it, even though I predicted it. I'm only going to remind you that a couple more times. So Alex Palou did a fantastic job today. He was right there in the mix. And I think, after this, he certainly is going to be a driver who wins this race in the future. He kind of really took up the slack that was left by Scott Dixon at Ganassi Racing. And, ordinarily you look at those drivers who do very well in the previous year's race and think they're going to have a good shot. Yeah, I think he's going to take a victory pretty soon. A few other notables I want to talk about before I get to the big one. Simon Pagenaud, what a fantastic drive. What a fantastic drive, all the way up nearly to third, almost got Pato, or sorry, it was almost a second. He got Pato, didn't get Palou. Sorry, I got the P's mixed up there. And it was a very close finish for second. It was amazing. I mean, he was nowhere most of the race, and just suddenly he was there. Kind of similar for Scott McLaughlin. It's kind of unfortunate that he had a speeding penalty late in the going, because he was right in that top 10. Sage Karam got a 7th from the last row. I think we need to talk about that a bit more. Santino Ferrucci in the top 10. Juan Pablo Montoya in the top 10. Shocker. The cream rises to the top, I suppose. And speaking of the cream, Elio Castroneves, 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, joining Rick Mears, who obviously is 30 years ago that Rick joined that club, A.J. Foyt, and Al Unser Sr. And actually, it's great because all three of the former 4-time winners are here in attendance for Elio to join that club. I thought Elio drove the smartest race of his career. He absolutely deserved this win. I realized he probably had it in the bag, probably around lap 140, 150, where he was catching Alex Palou. He would pull up to him about halfway down the straightaway and then just lift off the gas. He knew he could pass him when the time, when it counted, when it paid, and that's exactly what we saw. He made the outside pass into turn number 1, worked lap traffic perfectly, and won the race. And again, Elio's car throughout this entire month looked so consistent, and it felt so much like Sato last year, where that car, the most consistent car in qualifying, won the race. I think there's something to that we might have to look at in the 2022 edition of the Indianapolis 500. But I think, ultimately, Elio's definitely deserving. I know there's going to be some people who bring up 2002 and the way that race finished. But if you look at how many more times that Elio has been there and been close and come up short, and then this time winning for the first race for Meyer Shank racing an IndyCar on on the first race that he's raced for them, it's so similar to his Team Penske career. And I'd be very surprised. Surely they're going to run the rest of the season, right? I mean, I'm sitting here going, like, they've got enough money in that team, like, find a pit crew somewhere and run the rest of the season, because Elio clearly deserves it. And it was a crazy celebration, too. If you weren't here, there were people climbing on the fence, throwing beer, going on the track, reminiscent of how it was when AJ won his fourth, the very first driver to win 4 times at the Indianapolis 500. A historical day, a safe day, and a damn good race. I mean, I probably could talk about 6 more drivers, and perhaps we'll do that tonight if we were able to go live at some point, because there are just so many drivers that had great days, and some drivers who didn't have such great days. But of course, that's always the Indianapolis 500. So a 4-time, it's hard to believe, Elio Castroneves, Meyer Shank Racing going to the history books. A pretty good race, a pretty good day. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more Indy 500 and motorsport content. I'll see you in the next video.